Today's message from Reverend Christian Sorensen was recorded on October 22nd, 2017, and it's titled The Tribute, Affirming, I Honor My Path I've Walked. And today we welcome back the talent and voices of Cahill and Delene. Come visit us at our shiny new website at seasidecenter.org, and you can join us in Encinitas, California on a Sunday sometime, where we always have great music, a spirited message, and a joyful, loving, vibrant community that awaits you. And if by some chance you can't join us on a Sunday, we do live stream. Just go to seasidecenter.org and look for the links for live.
So we're so thrilled to have this wonderful couple. They are not just a couple of musicians, but they are also like a couple. Like they've been married and for 30 years. So they kind of know each other. They kind of know each other musically. I would imagine they could probably even look at each other, give themselves that look like, they go, oh yeah, I know what that means, right? Is that true?
Well, I do.
Absolutely. Yeah, we know how that goes. So, they're a local couple. They've been here in the San Diego area. They have some CDs in the back. So if you like what you hear, please support our local. They're wonderful, wonderful. They've been here before. And also, all the songs that they've written, all the songs they're performing, they've written. So they're original songs. So again, support our local artists. They're wonderful. We have the guitar going on here. We've got the saxophone. We have a soprano sax later on. It's awesome, awesome. So put your hands together for a wonderful, warm, seaside welcome to Cahill and Delene.
Thank you, Leslie.
Yes. So a little later, I don't want to give away the story, Reverend Christian is going to talk about the quest. We're all on a quest. We're all on this path together, and all of us has something that is uniquely ours to give back to the world. And that's what this song is about. It's called What Have You Got to Give?
Look inside you, what do you see? The gift you've got to give the world to set it free. Listen to you now, hear what you say. You're asking just what have I got to give away? Well, now maybe it's a new invention or a book that just won't wait. All your good intention won't put it on the plate. So what have you got to give? What have you got to give? What have you got to give? What have you got to give?
Look around you, what do you see? A world in need of so much love from you and me. Listen to yourself. What's your excuse? You say one man can't change the world, so what's the use? What about Mother Teresa and John F. Kennedy? What about Mahatma Gandhi? Now how about you and me? Ooh, yeah. Look above you, what do you know? Heaven at our fingertips, the world needs to be shown.
So listen deeply to that inner voice. Rise up to the calling now, it's your choice. 'Cause maybe you will be the person to set that prisoner straight upon the path to truth and freedom. Come on, don't make him wait. Got to give. What have you got to give? What have you got to give? What have you got to give? And now you got to give. That you got something real good to give now. Look inside yourself, reach into your soul. There's a find and you'll find you got something great to give.
What have you got to give
right now?
What have you got to give now?
Hey,
Thank you.
that is Cahill and Delene. Oh my. Woo. What do you got to give? Well, that is what we're about to find out. Anyway, woo. Beautiful, beautiful. Speaking of beautiful, Ginny, I don't know if you're still around here because you've been here since 6 o'clock this morning, but this really looks spectacular. I want to play with it all. Always wanted the crown. Look at that. Kind of fits, right? Callie makes me take this off when I come home, though, you know. Like that, huh, Rosedale? Those sisters stick together for sure. Anyway, Marv, I even like the castle. No respect, but it's tribute. It's about tribute, paying tribute. That's it. So I thought an interesting place for us to start on our journey is to pay tribute to the path that we have taken thus far in our life. Because what I know is you have put in a lot of miles to get to where you sit today. And, you know, even if there's been challenges in the past, it has led you here today. No matter what your upbringing has been, it has led you to this moment. No matter what your religious upbringing has been, even if it, like disregard half of the population, it still led you to this particular place. And so as we begin to honor the path and the challenges and the good times and realize that somehow it supports our story and has strengthened us, and the presence of God was right there in the midst, whether you've been in relationships and they've gone sour, or a marriage that didn't work out, it's not because it's failed, it's because it ended, it was over, it was complete. You know, and so as we begin to take a look at the path and honor the path and recognize that it's been the perfect path for us, because we're at a point now and that we have come back to our Camelot. We have come back to our place where we can recharge, refresh, regroup, get clear, and just begin to feel the rumbling of another quest, because we're about to go on a quest together. Over the next month, we're about to journey out and discover the wizard that is within us, the wise that is within us, participate in a story that's as old as time. For the story of Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, it can go back to 1st and 2nd century BC. There are so many different Arthurian stories that have been pulled together finally by Thomas Milroy, who wrote really the not definitive work, but definitely the one pretty thick of a lot of the Arthurian lore, put it all into this one book for us. But then he missed out on the whole romantic aspect of things. And then you had T.H. White, who wrote the one that has Arthur's childhood in there, the one that we grew up with, Disney's Sword in the Stone and the Silly Wizard. You know, and so the Arthurian lore with Excalibur and the Lady of the Lake can go back to the Celtic days and the good old just the wild time and connected with the earth. The thing about Arthurian lore, the story of Arthur, is it's that bridge from an era that was to an era that is becoming. The Arthurian lore, and my favorite one, I shared the two like classics, but my favorite one is The Mists of Avalon. You know, that is the one. It's a page burner. I recommend. It's thick, but it's worth reading. It is from the whole feminine perspective. It is the goddess rising. It is the women who really are directing it. They aren't about the battles, and it's not about Percival. It is about the women who are kind of conjuring up all the activities of the guys and directing them. And it's truly fabulous. But the era that Arthur is between two eras, which is really the story of when the goddesses ruled the earth, and it was the earth energy, and it was in touch with nature and the rhythm of things, to Christianity coming in and the patriarchal dominance and the wars and the exploitation of the Christianity and the one God as opposed to the many aspects of the goddess that is expressing. And Arthur is the one who stood between the two. And Camelot is that place, that idyllic place. That's probably really wasn't, though some think it may have been, but they really haven't been able to prove it. But the fact that there wasn't actually a physical place means that it is every place. And Camelot is symbolic in the sense of that place where there is order, where there is equality, where there is peace, where there is safety, where there's chivalry, where there's nobility, where it is all working in harmony. And that symbolic sense, that Camelot, that utopia, that sense is possible today. And that is what we're working on. But the thing about having a Camelot in that place of peace, and you come back and you pay tribute, you share your stories, you walk the Camino, you're able to come home. There's people ready to embrace you. The knights go out and do their night thing, and they come back and they say, good job, guys. You know, you got family, you got the clan, you got the crew, you got the tribe. It's like, wow, I get to come home, and there is a tribute to that journey and the depth and the exploration of my soul and my spirit and my bravery and my strength and my guts and my courage. And as people go, yeah. And as you sit in this space that is safe and is peaceful, there aren't any battles, there aren't any arguments, there aren't it's just kind of okay. You know? But then after a while, it kind of gets boring. It's like heaven, and all you do is roll out clouds all day? I don't think so. You know, you're behind the walls of the castle where everything is nice. And all of a sudden, there's something starts stirring in your soul. You know, there's a rumbling. There's something going on. You can feel the quest starting to catch you. The call of your spirit says, I know, I'm meant for more than that. And I feel it's so important if you can go out on that quest with a sense of honoring of the path that you've walked that have taken you to this place. Just thank you. You know, it's the Christian mystic, it's going to Edgar Tolle, no. That's the guy, Meister Eckhart. He's the one who said that if your only prayer that you ever say is thank you in your life, that would be enough. You know, that's the tribute. If the only prayer you ever say in your life is thank you, that would be enough. That would be okay. Okay? No matter what's going on. Maya Angelou said that I may be changed by what has happened to me, but I will never be reduced by it. Wow. Yeah, I mean, you know, I may be changed, uplifted, inspired, but I will never be reduced. I will never be made less than. I will never give in to my fears. I will never be less than who I came into this world to be. I'm going to be in that place where that spirit flows. I'm going to tap into that abundance. I may need to return to my Camelot to recharge, rejuice, to get it all set up in the right place. But you know what? I know that there's something inside of me that's going to call me on this quest to go out there and to be more in my life, in my world. And I've got what it takes because there is this abundance, and this whole program is awakening the abundance in you. This program is so you can be in that affluent flow, so you can experience abbondanza, as Gene Houston told us, right? Is that a great Italian word? Abbondanza. It's like, it's more than enough. The floodgates are opening. The windows of heaven are pouring forth blessings. And Jesus, whoa, that's enough. I don't think we're quite there yet. I mean, I don't know anybody saying, close those windows. I got enough. But we're going to get there this week. Abbondanza. Say that. It just feels good. Abbondanza. That's what we're going to create in our life, where those Italian courses just keep coming and coming, and there's like no end after 12. That's just the appetizers, you know. That's what we're dealing with when we're talking about abbondanza, about abundance. Wayne Dyer said, I love this. He said, abundance is not something you attain. It's something you tune into. That's right. So we're not only talking cash flow here, which is always a good thing to have, but we're talking about perfect health. We're talking about well-being. We're talking about freedom, to be able to come and go as you choose, to have the resources be able to come and go as you choose, not to be constrained or restricted or caught because of a time crunch. I got to put in these hours in work. That's not freedom. You do your passion, your dharma, because this is what you love, not because I've got to work so many weeks a year. Your health, your body is the temple, your Camelot. Now, it doesn't mean you don't have challenges. Take a look at that guy who wrote all those letters in the Bible, Paul. You know, he wrote a lot of stuff. 14 letters that somehow made it into the Christian Bible. How come everybody else got kicked out and he got 14 of those chapters? He had something going on. Good PR, maybe. And so he's out proselytizing, building churches, organizing, just living his vision. And he has a greater vision. He's going to go to Spain. He's going to, right on the outskirts, the perimeter, really their known world is Spain, and that's where he's going to go and start the new church and start the new work. And as he was getting excited, catching the vision, doing his plans, getting whatever it took to be able to make that journey, he got taken and thrown in the Roman prisons. Talk about a turn of events. Major drag. Thrown into a dark hole, lowered down on a rope, dark, dank, cold. It is not like a condo on the Caribbean to do your writing, But something shifted, and it's where he began to write those letters that transformed the world that people still talk about today. Yeah. He used that experience to move him to a greater place. And I want us to get that it's sometimes in our life we come up against disappointments. We come up with our dreams being postponed. We come up against our vision being disrupted. And I'll hear people sometimes in New Thought communities giving me all this metaphysical jazz as to why that shouldn't happen. You shouldn't have to struggle with abundance. You're talking about this abundant philosophy. Excuse me. I'm still here. Yeah, and we have the greatest philosophy that gives us the tools to create the abundance and the joy and the freedom, the health and the well-being. But sometimes those dreams get disrupted and they become our spiritual practice. And, if we had it all perfect, we wouldn't be here. We would have checked out by now. And so what happens is we are learning our spiritual principles through real life. It's not as if we go out and pay for a Gene Houston workshop every weekend or run off and take yes. We do it in real life. We get the dynamics presented to us and say, okay, what am I going to do with this? There's a Hindu proverb that says, those that were born of the fire don't fade in the sun. You're born in the fire, in the heat, and a little sun's not going to bug you. You got a lot of junk thrown at you, a little bit more. Hey, no problem. I can do this. I can move through this. It's not going to deny me or stop me. I'm able to move forward in life and not be denied a greater expression of who I am. There's a guy who received the grandfather clock and the inheritance, 3 generations passed on to him. He looked at this clock, the big weights that are holding, it's like the weight is. He looked at that clock and felt bad. For 3 generations, you've been holding those weights. And so he took the weights off the clock, and the clock stopped working instantly. And the clock said, why'd you do that? He said, well, you've been holding that weight for all these years. I thought I would help you. I said, put those back on there. You see, the challenge, the quest, the adventure, the struggle, the delayed is a little resistance for us to pull forth that wizard that is within us, the wise one that is within us, because we're dealing in a world that resistance actually helps us. Birds, they fly with resistance of the wind. Airplanes take off into the wind, the resistance. Fish are able to swim because of their resistance in the water. We walk on Mother Earth because of gravity and the resistance it takes to move and to be held down. Resistance is a natural thing, and the weights and the challenges are that which calls forth that greater wisdom that is within us. And so if we're just sitting back and everything's wonderful in our Camelot, eventually there's something that's going to start stirring that says, I got to go out on a quest. I got to go, climb the highest mountain or what have you. There was this boy who was taking his girlfriend on this path into the mountains. Why he was taking her up there, I don't know. But as they started going, she looked at the path and said, there's nothing but rocks and boulders that are there. He said, yeah, that's what we get to climb. Kind of a guy thing, Yeah, look we get to climb this. And it's as we adjust the attitude and realize, this is exciting. This is my quest. This is the boulder. There's something inside of me that I left behind my Camelot where everything's good. We gotta get something to stretch me, to have me be. And so it awakens that wizard, that Merlin within inside of us. That wizard consciousness, or the Merlin consciousness, they talk about the tower of the wizard, where Merlin was sent off to stay until he was kidnapped by the Lady of the Lake. But that tower of the wizard that is inside of us is what we want to activate. That's what we want to touch. That is where the wizard consciousness, when operating within spirit, The spirit is not shadowed by form and phenomena and the things of this world. The wizard consciousness doesn't have spirit covered over by the things that are happening here in this life. It continues to stay connected. It lives in the present moment and believes in the presence of God or that life force that is going to show up, that the answers are already there, that the quest is what brings it forth. It's not caught up in remembering the past. The wizard consciousness lets the past be where it was and is fully present and alive in the present-centered moment of spirit, and that is where the fullness absolutely has its way. It is not burdened by the heaviness and the past and the mistakes. The wizard lives with a sense of joy and magic and wonder and mystery of it all. And when the magic is gone from life, the joy is gone. It is dull. It is bleak. There's nothing left to call forth the magnificence of your being. So this excitement is a good thing. It brings forth, in White's book, talking about Merlin, Arthur, when he was born, they weren't really sure who his dad was. Merlin knew who it was. He kind of set it up. But I'm not going to go into that aspect of that story because we have young ones in this crowd. But it's definitely worth reading in Mists of Avalon. It is juicy stuff. But anyway, so where was it going? Oh, so Merlin was called in White's book to educate this kid, because this kid was just a sidekick for this king's son, Kay. Kay was the one who's to be the knight, the brave, the chivalrous, and Arthur was just worthy to carry a sword. And so he needed to be educated. And so they called in this wizard to educate him, Merlin. And what's interesting for me, Merlin, taught with the books and images, but mostly through shape-shifting. We think shape-shifting, wow, but the shamanic beliefs, the pagan rituals, the Greek, the shape-shifting was just a common practice. And so Merlin would do the shape-shifting, and if you saw the Disney movie of, he got turned into fish, and they almost got eaten, he got turned into a squirrel, and the girl almost caught him, and Merlin, they turned into owls and birds. And he learned from the animals in this book that by being, I think it was the ants or the hedgehog, that there's no animal species that actually kills its own, wars against its own. It may clear out some territory, but there's no species that wars against its own. The human species is the only one, which is part of what it had Arthur say, it's chivalry, it's nobility. We're going to live in a land of peace. He learned it from the animals, but what I'm getting at with this is that see if I can figure it out. Looks like somebody experienced my book while I wasn't looking. Well, let's see. I should have memorized the page for you, but I did not. So I will make it up. No, I found it. Here it is. I knew it was the end of the first book. There's 4 books in here. It's the end of the first one. So he had done all this work, Merlin and Arthur, who called Ward affectionately, and they went to a joust, and Arthur's job was to carry the stuff for Kay, the older guy, and they were having the joust, and then it was time for Kay to have his sword, and Kay forgot his sword, so he sent Merlin back to the inn to get his sword, and it was locked up. And Arthur, or Ward, didn't know what to do. He's walking through the woods, and they were saying, well, there's one stuck in a stone out there, an anvil. And so he went looking for it, and he found it. And now this isn't Excalibur. Excalibur was given to him by Lady of the Lake. This is the sword that said who pulled it would be king. Everybody's tried. Nobody could get it. He shows up as this innocent, unbeknownst what it was about. All he cared about, not getting in trouble because he had to get the sword back to the kid that he was taking care of. And he didn't really have the wherewithal. He tried to pull it once, didn't work, tried to pull it twice. But what's interesting is all of his training, all those individuals or animals or characters came back to him. He didn't know why he was hanging out with the geese trying to find his internavigational signal across the North Sea, but he learned from that. He didn't know why he was hanging out with the birds or why he was hanging out with ants or hedgehogs or fish, but here you go. This is why. "Oh, Merlin," cried out Wart, "help me with this weapon." And there was a kind of rushing and a noise. And all around the courtyard, there were hundreds of old friends, and they rose over the church walls all together, like a Punch and Judy, ghosts of remembered days. And there were badgers and nightingales, vulgar crows and hares and wild geese and falcon and fish and dogs and dainty unicorns and solitary wasps and hedgehogs and that loomed around the church walls. There were the lovers, the helpers of Wart, and they all spoke solemnly. Some of them had come from the banners in the church where they were painted in the hierarchy, some from the waters, some from the sky, some from the fields above, but all down to the smallest shrewd mouths had come to help on the account of love. Wart felt this power grow inside of him. "Put your back into it," said the fish, "as you once did when I tried to eat you. Remember how power springs from the nape of your neck." "What about your forearms?" asked the badger gravely. "That they're held together by your chest. Come along, my dear embryo, and find your tool." The hawk sitting on the top of the tree cried out, "Now then, Captain Wart, what is the first law of the foot? I thought I once heard something about never let go. And don't work like a stalling woodpecker," the old owl said. "Keep up your steady effort, my duck, and you will have it yet." And the goose said, "Now, Wart, if you were once able to fly the great North Sea, surely you can coordinate a few little wing muscles here and there. Fold your powers together with the spirit of your mind, and it will come out like butter. Come along, you Homo sapien, for all we humble friends of yours are waiting here to cheer you on." And Wart walked up to the great sword on the third try, and he pulled it out with his right hand softly and drew it out as gently as it came from his scarab. And once you take your call, once you say, "I'm leaving Camelot behind," there's something in me. You've got to ask yourself some questions. These are some Arthurian questions we're going to be looking at over the next few weeks. But if you decide to go on this quest, it's right to get your mind and consciousness set. So Marv has got these 4 questions for us. And they are, where are you going? Do you know where you're going? Where have you come from? Has it been deep? Have you just been doing life and paying bills? Or has it been a little bit more meaningful then? What are you doing in this world? What is your dharma? What is your purpose? What did you come here for? What are you drawing out of that wellspring of your being, the well of the chalice, the goblet? What are you pulling from the depths that is inexhaustible into the world? Is it enough? Is it who you are? Is it what you came here to be? And who do you and what do you serve? That's going to be the chalice question next week. It's like, are you doing this because of your ego? I'm just going to do this. Ta-da, I got the big castle and the crown. I'm good. Or are you doing this because there is a higher calling, a Christ calling, a spiritual calling for you to be that spiritual leader in this world? I can't answer those questions for you. They're ones that you get to sit there and contemplate. We've got sacred circles. I wrote these. They're great. You sign up for a sacred circle. There's no cost, an hour and 15 minutes, and you move it to a deeper level. If it's not in a neighborhood near you or a night you like, Kat has put it on the internet, on our website. You go under education, you hit sacred circles, and you go Arthur. And you'll find out what I've written for all of us to be working on over the next 5 weeks. You can do it in group. You can do it alone. It's available to everyone. But I want you to take a look at what is going on in your life, in your world. What is it that I have to work with? You know, because we're going to hit successful points in our life. That's how it comes. But you know what? We don't always stay there. It doesn't mean because we have hit these great spiritual pinnacles that we're never going to falter again. And the answer to the question, how to get back there, is through our spiritual realization. It's through our right identification. It's about connecting with that divine and seeing as Spirit sees. You listen to that quest that's stirring in your soul, that has you leave the comfort behind because you just got uncomfortable being too comfortable. There's something in you that's stirring and seeking to be more, to express more, that wants more in your life. And that, you know, Robert Frost said that there was something missing, and we discovered it was ourself. There's something missing. And in this quest, in this searching, we discovered It's me. I'm forgetting to bring forth that aspect, that royalty, that nobility, that chivalry. The wizard, the temptress, the knight, the lady of the lake. See, the wizard has many personas, many personalities, many aspects in the shape-shifting. We have many expressions of our being in this life. And as we can begin to trust that and to be that, we begin to realize it is spirit in all things. What happens as humans, at least the wizard thinking, is that humans create distinctions. This, and it's this, and it's this, and it's this. Where spirit has no distinctions. It is in and through all things. It is omnipresent. It is omnipotent. That power is there. But you're only going to come to discover that when you look at the rocks or the boulders on your path and think, boy, this is fun. Count me in. I'm going up there. You know, Ziggy, the comic strip guy, not the Rasta-san, swinging with the music guy. But the comic strip guy said, I have my rabbit's foot, I got my four-leaf clover, and my lucky charm. The only problem is they're not effective until I am. You know, it's a problem until you're effective. You know, the things are not going to work in your life. So you got to begin to work with that, begin to trust that, and realize, you know what, I've got something to bring forth here into this world. I'm being called to be of a greater expression, and I may reach some challenges. I might be thrown into a prison like Paul was, but I'm going to use that as an opportunity to be greater. We see it in life, in the stories all the time. You had Thomas Edison. Here, his first job. You know his first job? I just found this out. He was selling newspapers on a train. He kicked over a bottle of acid in the baggage compartment, and it caught on fire, created a lot of commotion and damage, I guess, and that was the end of that career. But isn't that a good thing? He went on to telegraphy and science and all those things. So it worked out to be a blessing. Remember the story of the boll weevil back in Alabama in 1952, second year desert, boll weevil came, ate all the crops, and a guy, George Washington Carver, said, hey, why don't we try peanuts? You know, the boll weevils don't eat that. They went on to be bumper crops. He went on to come up with 100 ways in which to use the peanut, and that little town in Alabama by 1919 was one of the leading producers and prosperous towns in our country, because you know what? They had a problem called the boll weevil, which they eventually erected a statue to say thank you, because they moved on to something greater. That's how it happened. Victor Hugo. Do you know he got run out of France when I think he was 48 years old on a little island, miserable? And they started to write something called Les Miserables. He wrote Toilers of the Sea. He said, only if they had run me out of the country sooner, how much more I would have written. Leo Tolstoy said, there's four things you can do when you hit that kind of misery and you get hit. He said, some people just, when they hit that problem, they'll just drink and get drunk. Second, be so miserable, they commit suicide. Third one is they build a steel wall around themselves and just protect themselves from the world. And the fourth one will stand in what it is that's going on, stand strong, accept it, and move forward and through it and be stronger because of that. We are at that place as we choose to go on the quest that we will be challenged. We will be thrown into a prison sometimes. We may be a person without a country, possibly. I don't know, but the knight never knows when they take off on their quest and their adventure what it is they're going to run into, but they know it's going to be an adventure. They know that they are in alignment with a spirit of something higher in their work, and spirit shows up. And you don't know how it's going to show up because you don't know what the issue is yet. And if you're all worried and filled with anxiety, you're like spinning out. You know, Merlin, he not only had insight and foresight, he had what they called backsight. Okay, that's right. If you saw the Disney movie, you know that he already lived this life and he was living backwards from having experienced it. So when he shows up and says, you know what, you're going to be king, you better believe him because he's already been there. You're going to unite the kingdoms. He's already been there. He knows that. When he says he's going to be thrown in prison at the island with Nimu, the lady of the lake, it's going to last a couple hundred years. And Arthur said, no, I'll come rescue you. No, he said, no, it's going to be a good thing. I'll come to you. You know, it's like there's an assurance. And when you're dealing in the one mind, it is all there. And so whether you're out fighting dragons, or you're out in search of the Holy Grail, or whether you're trying to take care of something at home in a domestic kind of thing, that presence that can show up if you cannot be caught up in, the wizard isn't caught up in judgment or the past memories, is fully present here. There aren't past memories yet for the wizard because they're coming backwards, forward, right? You know, they're present, and there's an answer. And the answers today are different than they were in Arthur's day. And here's one little example. You may have seen this. It was viral this month. It's about this little 4-year-old who left his stuffed puppy in a rest stop. And it disappeared. And it's been on an incredible journey. Spirit shows up. That little dog's name was Pup Pup. And it's got to go on everywhere, and it was on Facebook, and it went viral and found its way home. There's answers for today that Arthur knew nothing of. But what is the same is the call of the Grail. We have that Grail call that is summons to us to go on a journey we know not where. But it's the same kind of stirring that has been from the beginning of time within people. That Grail has summoned the wise, the sage, and the not so wise. It has summoned the prodigies, the prodigals, and the princes, the mothers and the maidens, the warriors and the workers. It doesn't care about race or station, time or location. But there's a stirring inside of us that will lead to an abundant way of being in this life, in this world. It will take you on a path you know not of, but it will take you on a path that allows you to come to recognize the wizard, the genius, the marvel of your being. It will return the magic, the sparkle, the joy, the excitement. But you've got to leave behind the Camelot. You pay tribute to the path that has brought you this far. But what's next? I can't tell you. But listen to the sum and the call of the Grail and follow your quest. We're here to support you on it. I love you. God bless you. Hey, let's keep it going as we bring Barry and Delene back to our stage.
Here, have a guitar.
Thank you. Such a good husband.
I've had a lot of practice. So, this next song is from our CD, and it's about a very extraordinary man that we knew. But it was written with the idea, and he would have approved of this, that it could be about anybody that's extraordinary to you, whether it be Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, King Arthur, Merlin, or anybody else. This is called The Most Extraordinary Man.
Most extraordinary man, most extraordinary man. He walked across the land, touched us without hand. The inner flame was fanned from a place so far away. Higher space, a different day. To find the inner truth, he sacrificed his youth until at last he knew he was a father and a mother, a sister and a to understand this most extraordinary man, this most extraordinary man. He wasn't rich or tall, by some he measured small, but that was hardly all. In many ways like me and you, the ones his gaze can see right through. And so we had begun the road that leads to one that he had long since run. He was a father and a mother, a sister and a brother. All things good to all who understood or tried to understand this most extraordinary man. Tried to understand this most extraordinary man, this most extraordinary man, this most extraordinary man. Ooh. Thank you.
That is Cahill and Delene. Very nice. All right.